Good evening, this is KD2 Net Control for the Sunday Night All Things Natural Net. The Sunday Night All Things Natural Net is a net dedicated primarily to gardening and farming, but expanding to all topics surrounding that. So basically anything's on the table, so to speak. Anyway, this is KD2 We're looking for check-ins. If you'd like to join the net, please throw your call sign now.
KC2JQA.
KD2OID.
Okay, so far we have KD2SQO, Brian, KC2JQA, Steve, and KD2RYD, Kate. Are there any further check-ins?
This is
Hi, Bob.
KD2RFI, Bob.
Okay, I recognize KD2RFI, Bob, and I think there's another station trying to get in there, but for some reason their audio is not coming through. Do you have your PL tone set to 103.5? You might want to check that, and I'll give you one more try. Hi, Kiki. Hey, Bomber. Okay, I think I pulled it out despite, you're getting like a weird touch tone on your call. Maybe you have a 1700 hertz tone like they do in Europe or something, David. There's a beep that's coming over, but I did catch MQE at the end of that. So we have KD2MQE, and we'll just see if there's any further check-ins, and then we'll roll back to the top of the list. Any further check-ins, please call now. Alright, no further check-ins recognized at this time. We'll back at the top of the list, KD2SQO. Brian, how are you this evening?
Doing good, CJ. Thought I'd sit in on this one. Mostly
Pretty
the
good,
works,
Bomber.
hopefully. So, hi everybody.
Overall?
And back to you.
Alright, very good. Well, glad you came in and glad you joined us. Let's roll on down to Steve, KC2JQA. What's going on in your neck of the woods?
KC2JQA, this is Steve. All is well here. We are hunkered down and doing what we are needing to do to stay healthy and keep everyone around us healthy. As far as all things natural, did make a pickup from one of the local farms, so we did have some fresh produce, which we are enjoying. So that's always nice in the midst of all this to be able to procure some local food.
Fantastic, fantastic. Yeah, and especially this early in the season. That's great. We do have excellent local farming operations around here. A lot of small CSAs and small farms. So glad you're supporting them and keeping the local economy going in some form or fashion. That's fantastic. All right, let's roll on down to KD2RYD. Kate.
Hi, yeah. I don't think too much different than what I spoke about earlier on. But what comes to my mind is, a few weeks ago when I was on the net, I spoke about the plastics thing and not using plastics, and I'll just mention some of that again because that's something that really got into my head back in September, and it sent me on this journey of trying to prepare my food and everything that I have without using packaging. But it ended up taking me down this path of learning how to cook and create most of what I need from scratch. And it was so fortunate for me to have done that. And also, as you remember, early on this year I had questions about where to buy wheat berries from and how to mill my own flour, and and I've been doing that, and then that's resulted in me making like bagels and bread and all things, and I feel so fortunate and blessed that because of that journey to try and get back to natural things and create I'm vegan, so I call it my vegan prepper's pantry. It's meant I really just don't have to go to the store for hardly anything at all. We have food from Sunfrost Farms about twice a month. I order, and everything we need. We're just so well stocked and so fortunate. And I think that if we can more people can learn to go back to basics, it can make a much more resilient society. Because everyone was obsessed with toilet paper, and no one's really thinking about back to basics and just living in a sustainable way. Anyway, those are my thoughts that are in my head right now. Back to Ned.
All right, very good, Kate. Yeah, the farming and gardening thing. Excuse me. The farming and gardening thing kind of led me down that pathway too. I kind of ended up taking it to sort of an extreme at different points, where I wanted to be able to grow everything that went in the ingredients of something. Like, for example, I make a salsa, and I've managed to grow pretty much everything that goes in there with the exception of cumin. And I do have seeds. I want to make another try at that. I made a try last year, but the chipmunks got my cumin seedlings. So I'm going to try again this year. But I totally love that concept. I love that it led you down that pathway, and I think that's an excellent topic for the net. Could you fill us in a little bit about a little bit more about how you make your own vegan stuff?
Yeah, so obviously, being vegan, one of the main things is protein, and the two main pieces of food that we use for protein are tofu and seitan, and so I bought a lot of soybeans. So I have enough soybeans probably last me 6 months or a year. And I use the soybeans to make soy milk. So I make soy milk about every third day. I make a liter of soy milk, and then once or twice a week I make a 2-liter batch of soy milk, which I then turn into tofu. And we have some really awesome tofu recipes. We have what we call crispy fried tofu, or KFT, or K-fried tofu, which we actually just had for dinner. So from those soybeans we can get the soy milk and get the tofu. That's really awesome. I also have bought a lot of vital wheat gluten and nutritional yeast flakes, and we turn the vital wheat gluten and nutritional yeast flakes and a few other simple ingredients, ginger, soy sauce, and we make a large piece of seitan, which is obviously it's very gluten, it's just basically gluten, and it goes to like a sort of very sturdy piece of meat, and we have that in the refrigerator, and I get that and slice it for sandwiches for lunch, and also we can fry it and have it in different dishes. And then I bought all the grain, and I mill the grain into flour, and then I use the flour to make bread rolls, loaves of bread. I also turn the flour into, I bought a lot of durum wheat. I mill that into semolina flour, and then from that I make pasta, so I make spaghetti or lasagna.
Awesome.
So those are sort of the main, more unusual things that I make, but I love it, and it's so great for my mental health to be creating with my hands the food that I find it so incredibly rewarding. But it all comes from dry ingredients that can stay in the pantry all year. Back to Ned.
Fantastic, Kate. Thank you. That was a well-explained and articulate explanation of how you do things. That's awesome, and I like that you make your own pasta. I've been thinking about adding wheat to my list of things to grow for a couple of years. I still haven't gotten back around to it, but that kind of inspires me because I do love a good fresh-made pasta. And just before we roll on down here, I know you have a YouTube channel as well. Any chance we might get you to do some videos of this sort of stuff?
I would love to. It's one of those things I keep telling myself I'm going to do. I'm
sorry to hear that.
And the last videos I did were a long time ago. I have a couple of hiking videos on there. I've been thinking about it a lot, I would love to do that. And I think I'd love to do something like the Vegan Preppers Pantry. I think that would be pretty awesome. Back to Ned.
Fantastic. Well, keep us updated on that, and be interested to hear and see more coming from you from that. Really enjoying having you part of our amateur radio club and our community. All right, let me just do a real quick opportunity for further check-ins, and then we're going to continue down the list to Bob. If there are any further check-ins at this time, please throw your call sign.
K2BHM.
And Dan. No, and Dan. All right, and that recognizes K2BHM. Any further check-ins? No, and Dan. All right, Night Titan. Thanks for coming in. All right, no further check-ins recognized. We're going to roll down the list here to KD2 RFI. Bob, how are things on your side of the river?
KD2 RFI. Good evening, everyone. Kate, that was well explained on the preparing your own food. Something I would love to get into. The only thing I have around my house that'll last a year in the pantry is a couple bottles of bourbon and a couple jars of honey.
Oh, you're not leaving Titan, sorry.
But other than that, I get myself so immersed into so much. And one of the things being the YouTube channel as well. But it's addictive. You get so busy. I just don't have the time to prep my own food like that. I'd love to be able to at least have the knowledge base to do it. So for right now, I'm probably going to be sticking with the chickens and honeybees. I did get in the hive today, though, and I had to evict some unwanted guests. I had mice in a couple of the hives. One of the hives was empty, had no bees in it, or not even any frames, and a couple mice went in there, built a nest. The other one had bees in the upper half of the hive, and the mice took over the bottom half. They weren't real happy, but they moved on and found someplace else to live, I hope. So, but other than that, not too much going on. Bees are looking healthy, chickens are healthy, and I got eggs coming out my ears nonstop, and hoping for a good honey crop later this season. So we'll see how it goes. KD2R5, back to that.
And this is KD2IN Net Control with a Sunday night All Things Natural Net. Well, thanks, Bob. Glad that things are going well over there. I hate to hear about the mice, man. I know they're just such a frustration and aggravation around here, too. I've been very careful to make sure to keep them out of my hives and hive boxes. And I check quite frequently because I'm paranoid about it because, man, they make a nasty, stinking mess awful quick. All right, well, thanks for your update. Now let's roll on down to David, KD2MQE.
I'm readjusting everything here, and it's all out of control.
Okay, we only got part of your transmission there, David. Can you try it again, maybe?
I was asking if my transmission was working right because I'm changing everything at my end, and so it all was different now, and so can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you okay, but on the beginning of your transmissions, there's I think it's like a touch tone, might be a DTMF tone or something, and that's blanking out your audio for about 2 or 3 seconds, just so you know. So it seems like maybe there's an auto touch tone set in there somewhere, mistakenly maybe. I'll put it back to you.
Okay, understood, and right, so it's a new rig, and I'm like trying to deprogram it or program it or whatever. This is all super interesting. We don't use any processed food here either, although, I mean, Katie's making it.
Hi, Chris, darling.
Less and less, even more processed. Yeah, nothing special to add. I mean, we're all using like
funny technologies that are, I don't know, sort of this middle ground. The president uses Twitter and he doesn't, it depends on the internet or communications or physics or nature. But like all that stuff is always, nature's sort of the bottom line. And I read, every time I look at the paper in the morning, I'm thinking about that. And that's it. I hope the transmission's okay. Back to me.
Completely agree. Wow, we do a lot of really unnatural things on this planet. It's an interesting hybrid of unnatural into the natural world. And yeah, your transmission came through fine. Just that first, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 seconds that gets knocked out with that tone. I'm sure you'll find out what that is and get it squared away. All right, let's roll on down to K2BHM. Jim.
Good evening, everybody. K2BHM. Yeah, I agree with Kate. I'm not quite there.
90-degree days already.
We do
wow,
our shopping
Chris.
at Adams and do most of our cooking at home. I'm not versed in grinding my own grains and stuff like that, but I do make my own pizzas from scratch. We make bread, stuff like that. And as far as McDonald's and Burger King and Wendy's are concerned, they would go bankrupt with us, as well as Applebee's and 99 and the other things. If we do go out, it's going to be a local mom and pop shop where you get some quality food. And we do a lot of our stuff here from scratch, from stuff that we know is higher grade from Adams. Kind of dragged me into Price Chopper, kicking and screaming.
Fantastic, Jim. Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. Not big on the huge chain stores. I use Hannaford's here in Red Hook because it's close and easy and they have a pretty decent selection. But if I could afford Adams, I would definitely prefer that. They have some really nice quality stuff there. All right, let's just pause and do another opportunity for check-ins. This is KD2IIN with the Sunday Night All Things Natural Net. If there are any further check-ins, please call now. All right, looks like that's a no. We're going to roll back up to the top of the list. KD2SQO. Brian, pick it up. KD2SQO, if you're still around, pick it up.
Time for, what I meant to say, sorry, was RYD had a great statement about things, and it's definitely interesting and certainly food for thought, no pun intended. Back to you, necessary.
Very good, very good. I completely agree. And yeah, nice to hear others who are inspired in that direction. All right, well, let's roll on down to KC2JQA. Steve.
This is Steve, KC2JQA. Yeah, I agree with everybody else. We are trying to
Heat wave.
Eat healthy and cleaner foods than we would have in the past. And now I have my 2 college-age kids who are back from school living with us, and they're a good influence. But we also find in the current situation, trying to put in a stock of shelf-stable food, we kind of mixing what we can get from the farm where we have our CSA, which also has a market. Hardy Roots is the farm, and they do a wonderful job. But trying to have some canned sardines and canned beans and other shelf-stable items that we can store for a long period of time. We are in a temporary QTH at the moment. Kind of a long story, but our house is under construction, so that with construction being stopped, we're kind of living away from home for a while up in Rhinebeck, and having these shelf-stable foods, canned goods, has been kind of a godsend. So it lets us minimize the amount of time we need to go into the store, and just by being pragmatic has been useful for us at the current time.
for sure. It's amazing how easy it is to adjust when this is kind of your mode of operation normally, and it's amazing how much other people panic sometimes when they're not used to this. A really interesting dynamic to study. So I'm glad that you're set up and doing well and supporting local agriculture. That's fantastic. I think if we can go to more and more of that, we can reduce a lot of our toxins and pressures and fuel costs on this poor planet as it groans underneath us. Anyway, let's roll on down to KD2RYD. Kate, pick it up.
Hi again, yeah, KD2RYD. Thanks for lots of positive comments about what I was saying. I've probably said this before, but I think one of my obsessions is just thinking about the more I can go back to basic ingredients. It's kind of like going further back up like a tree sort of diagram. You can create so many foods from just a few basic ingredients, and I'm really interested in how to go back to basics and but be able to create all of these different things from what seem to be the same ingredients. If I mill the corn and make corn flour and take some turmeric and some sugar, I can make custard, or I can make gravy, or I can turn the corn into popcorn, all of these different things. And something I was thinking about just a few weeks ago was, I think it was kind of like, I had three things in mind. You have skills, and you have ingredients, and you have tools. And those are the three things that you need. But what you need to try and do, ideally, is optimize for skills.
Yes.
Because the more skillful you can become, the more knowledge you can acquire, then the more things you can create from less ingredients and with less tools. And I guess the way you have to do that is through creativity, ingenuity, being practical, common sense, because ultimately skills have no weight and you can carry them anywhere. And you don't need any ingredients or any tools. So I find that kind of an interesting concept. But I think the other thing is I didn't know how to mill flour earlier on this year because I was asking about it on the net, and a whole host of other things. I've only really learned some of them recently. Most people aren't around people to inspire them to do these things because of the ways we have these nuclear families. You don't get to learn these things from your grandparents if you're not living with them anymore. And also, most people don't have access to the tools. I mean, I bit the bullet and bought the flour mill as soon as I saw what was happening in Italy. But I'm privileged to have access to some of the tools that I have. And I think that's some of the challenges that most people have. They don't have the time, they don't have the tools, and they don't have the inspiration from people around them. They don't watch their grandmother make the tortillas. They think they come in a plastic bag from Hannaford. Back to net.
KD2IN Net Control for the Sunday Night All Things Natural Net. Well, I couldn't agree more, Kate. Boy, you touched on a lot of excellent points there. And to your last point, a friend of mine who's another YouTuber is actually in the live stream here chatting, and he was telling me about a guy a couple months back that told him that nothing comes from farms. We don't need farms anymore. And he was eating pizza, and the guy said to him, "Hey, you're eating pizza. Where do you think that came from?" And he says, "From a factory." And it's like he doesn't understand that the ingredients all came from farms. It's amazing the disconnect. But I agree. The nuclear family thing, people aren't exposed to it, and so they don't understand it, and so then it never catches their eye enough to get their interest, and then they don't look into it. But that's part of what my YouTube channel and this net is about, to help educate people and to catch their eye in a little bit different perspective on producing your own food, ensuring that its quality is good and that there aren't chemicals or toxins in it, and all those sort of things. So love your points. I love everything you bring to the net, Kate. Thank you. Let's roll on down to KD2RFI. Actually, let me just take a quick break and see if there's any further check-ins. Then we'll roll to KD2RFI. This is KD2IN for the Sunday Night All Things Natural Net. If there are any further check-ins, please call now. think there's someone out there trying to get in, but barely we're opening the squelch on the repeater. Sounds like it might be mobile. We'll give you one more opportunity if you want to try again. Go ahead. I'm sorry, you're just not holding it. I wonder if that's Bob, K2LD, in the extended range already. Anyway, we'll come back and give you another shot in a bit. We're going to roll on down the list to KD2RFI. Bob, pick it up.
KD2RFI. Yeah, I love that story about the pizza. Years ago, I was working at a dairy farm, and a lot of the farm hands, we'll call them, who we brought in were pretty much from the city. And one individual we brought in to milk the cows one day, and they were all in the dairy barn and all in their stations and ready to go and feeding. And we're teaching the new guy how to milk the cows, and he walks in, he looks at all these cows lined up. I think there's about 50 head at the time, and he just sat there with his mouth open and managed to mumble out, "What the heck are all those?" I said, "Cows. Why? What do you think?" He goes, "Well, what do we do with them?" I looked at him and said, "Where do you think milk comes from?" He looked me right square in the eye and said, "From the store. I get my milk from the store." So, yeah, a lot of people just don't know.
Wow.
You know, and the knowledge base is just not there. And the more people we put in a smaller area, you got to find different ways to mass produce food for them, and they're withdrawn from how to actually do it themselves.
Yep.
I would love to learn how to grind flour and do it all myself. It's wonderful, and I think you're absolutely right. It's the inspiration. You need a little bit of inspiration, and I gotta say that's where the YouTube comes in. So once you start making videos on YouTube, it helps promote your own inspiration as well as it does everyone else's inspiration. And especially when you start getting a lot of positive feedback and people start interacting and asking questions, it becomes a little bit addicting and takes a lot of time. I mean, I would absolutely love to grind my own flour and make bread. I love bread. Bread doesn't love me. Seems to sit around my midsection quite a bit. Maybe I'm just eating too much of it. I don't know. But it's, definitely worth a go to do the YouTube channel and share the knowledge with everyone. And that sharing the knowledge just increases the inspiration that you instill upon everyone else. The tools, the tools are, it's always nice to have high-end tools, but you get back to the basics, and you can do it with a bowl and a hand grinder. I forget what it's called. You actually grind everything right in the bowl. So, you can get back to basic and do a much smaller scale and start off there. So, you just got to think about it and just, like you said, a little common sense and break it down. You don't need a $5,000 grinder or anything fancy or anything at all. You just get back to the basics and start doing it. I think that's all I got to say tonight. I do have to step off. I have company at the house. I just want to make sure I checked in for the net for a little bit, and I will catch you all later. You've given me a lot of great ideas, and I definitely recommend if you think about doing a YouTube channel, definitely do it. Share it with us. Let us know. I would love to check it out.
She does have one. I'll pick it up and share it.
Back to net, and wishing everyone 7-3. I'm clear.
All right, very good, Bob. Thanks for joining the net. Appreciate your support. Thanks for coming in, even though you had company. Always appreciate your 2 cents on things, and inspiration is what it's all about. Kate actually does have a YouTube channel, so I'm going to go back up to her real quick. And Kate, why don't you tell us what your YouTube channel is? KD2RYD from KD2IN.
It should be Dr. Kate Stone, DrKatestone. On all social media, I'm Dr. Kate Stone, so I assume that that's what my YouTube channel is as well. Yeah, Dr. Kate Stone.
Wonderful, thank you. I will share that in the chat here as well. All right, let's roll on down the list to KD2MQE.
So yes, really interesting conversation. We were hiking around this afternoon and we saw a fast food container, like a French fry thing from a fast food place next to the trail, and I'm thinking like, you know, Kate's talking about having skills and like making our own stuff, and like I want to be able to, in pizza from stores, we were talking about like, I want to be able to tell whoever like felt they could like leave that, you know, fast food thing next to the trail, like they don't understand that, and we need to learn how to talk to them. So I'm a little worried about that. I think we need to work on that. That's it for me.
All right, very good. Yeah, I completely agree. It seems like this whole COIV or COVID thing is bringing people's awareness back to you know, being self-sustainable and producing some of their own food and understanding the food chain and all that sort of stuff. So I think it's having a positive effect in that way, at least. So thanks for your contribution, David. We're going to roll on down to K2BHM, Jim.
Okay, thanks, CJ, K2BHM. Well, I'm not a vegetarian, but there's a little explanation behind that. My cousin has cows, beef cows, Murray Grays, and he started about, 30 years ago, and his first two cows were named Hamburger and Steak, and that was to make clear what their purpose was. And so I've helped them out over the years and whatever, go over and feed them and make stuff for them and stuff like that. We go and pat them and play with them and so forth. But if I had to go and decide which one was going to be butchered and so forth and so on, I'd be a vegetarian. But they sure are tasty.
Boy, they sure are. They sure are. Yeah, my dad had a friend who raised pigs, and he called them eggs and bacon. So, yeah, that's something you kind of have to do to mentally set yourself up for, especially if you're an animal lover. It's even harder, even when you know you're raising them for food. At some point, you got to do the butchering job. But it does make you appreciate it, and you know, it makes you appreciate that you've taken a life. It's pretty easy to go to the store and buy a steak and never think about you know, that animal had a life and what kind of life it had and that sort of thing. So another good link in here. Let's just take a pause here and see if there's any final check-ins here, and then we'll do a final run back down the list. This is KD2IIN Net Control for the Sunday Night All Things Natural Net. Looking to see if there's any further check-ins. Please call now. There's her channel. Man.
One addendum.
By all means.
So, for the
Hey,
last
Nessie.
20-some odd years, there's a brewery up in
That's Kate's
Troy,
channel.
Brown's
Right there.
Brewing. And when you're finished with the grains and you've extracted all the fermentables out that you can, it's something that you have to get rid of. Well, he takes it back, and the cows absolutely love it. They love those spent grains, and they thrive on it. They fight for it.
Interesting. Yeah, and I know John Kempf talks about some of the cattle farmers using that as a nutrient for their fields as well, where they go out and spread it. And I think they also get like a sludge from one of the breweries, and they spray that on too, and that's tremendous boost for the soil biology as well. So, but that makes sense. You know, the ruminant animals are basically the soil biology in the gut of an animal. And so very beneficial as part of the loop, and great to see something come out of one part of a process and not get wasted and just thrown in the dump. So that's an excellent recycling tactic, and yeah, I understand the cows absolutely love it, so that makes sense. All right, let's just take one last roll back down the list here for any final comments. I'm going to start back at the top with KD2SQO, Brian. 5 minutes of yoga. Hey, 5's better than 0. KD2 SQO Brian, if you're still out there, final comments for the night. All right, looks like Brian checked out. We'll roll on down to KC2JQA, Steve.
KC2JQA. All the talk of simplifying, I think, is really pertinent now. I think, kind of going back to the old rules of trying to use ingredients that your grandparents would recognize, having ingredients that don't require a degree in chemistry to decipher. It's always been important, but I think, as people, and I suspect going forward, most of us will be spending more time closer to home for a foreseeable period of time, and probably trying to do things more locally. And again, we are blessed with an abundance of farms and agricultural resources in our region. So for us, I think it's a little bit easier to adhere to that simpler, cleaner form of eating. And what for me was kind of one of the turning points was my children have very severe, well, they're adults now, but they had still do very severe food allergies. So that forced us to have to read labels and really understand what was in our food for many, many years, and just kind of heighten our awareness of what we are eating and putting into our bodies and into the bodies of our children, and that has served us well, I think, in trying to eat healthily. Sometimes, like anyone, succumb to some temptations. Pint of ice cream you'll find in our freezer once in a while, but we generally try to adhere to the healthier foods out there. And I think just putting a little bit of time and effort into that, will pay big dividends, and I know it has for us. KC2JQA, back to net.
For sure. Yeah, it's interesting. I started down the health and nutrition pathway from a farming and gardening perspective, and then came on to plants, animals, and humans all require similar trace minerals and biology present, and that's kind of how I stumbled down that pathway, but I found the same thing, and I know lots of other people that have come to it through your way as well, through the having allergies and having to look at what's in the food closely and make sure they haven't put some chemical in there that they call food that actually isn't. So excellent. Thanks for the commentary, Steve, and thanks for turning in it. Appreciate it. And I hope you have a good evening, and we'll roll on down to KD2RYD. Any final comments?
Wait, check it.
K2LD is recognized.
Good evening, everybody. Yeah, I just made it home. And yes, that was me trying to get in earlier, but it just wasn't happening.
I thought so.
Just want to say a quick hello. I won't mess up your rotation here. And if you have a chance, CJ, tell us how your sweet potatoes are going. The video was interesting.
Right, very good. Well, thanks for jumping in, Bob, and we'll come back to you at the end of the list here. We'll go back to, let's see, we're on to Kate, I think, and glad you caught the end of the net, Bob, and I will tell you more about the sweet potatoes. All right, KD2RYD, pick it up.
Thanks, yes, KD2RYD. Yeah, I guess a few thoughts, just, again, at risk of repeating myself, but, when you create your own food from the basic ingredients, as you said, you know exactly what is in it, and, I love the soy milk that I drink. It's so tasty and creamy, and the ingredients are soybeans and water. And when you look at the cartons in the store, they have all sorts of things in them. And my bread is spring hard red wheat berries, sugar, salt, water, and some canola oil and some yeast. I think someone said that bread doesn't agree with them, and they love the bread. I love the bread, and usually it makes my belly really bloated. And I'm just realizing I'm not getting that anymore, because I know what's in my food, and it doesn't seem to be affecting me in the way that food may have done before. So I think that's, when you go back to basics, we find that we don't have these ingredients in that maybe are having an impact on people, which is not good at all. I think those are my final thoughts. So this has been really wonderful. I've enjoyed this net a lot. Back to net.
All right, excellent, Kate. Thank you for your contribution, and thanks for your explanation before. That was excellent information. I do have one quick question for you. When you make your soy milk, what is your water source and quality, out of curiosity, and are you familiar with the importance of water quality?
The water comes from the garage. there's a well in the garage, and there's a filtration system in the garage. So, as a lot of homes around here, I think I don't know. I just assume that many of the homes have the water from a well. That's what we do. And I know the water runs off this mountain down to the Ashokan and makes its way to New York and has all sorts of things done to it. But yeah, it comes from a well in the garage. That's net.
All right, very good. Well, there is a tremendous amount of information about water quality out, and I guess I should just mention this while we're on the topic briefly. There's a site called findaspring.com, and you can look up springs. I think it covers the entire world, but definitely all of North America. And so I should mention that on Route 214, not too far from you, there is an excellent spring. I'd be curious if sometime you might go up and harvest some of that fresh spring water and try making your soy milk with that and see if there's any difference. Just 2 cents and something to consider.
That sounds wonderful. And yeah, a great thing to explore. That would be a good experiment. Thanks.
Good, very good. I will try to remember to shoot you a link or a screenshot of where that spring is. It's a little tricky to find if you've never been there before, but the water from it is absolutely excellent. All right, let's see. Bob checked out KD2RFI, so now we're down to KD2MQE. David, final comments for the net. Yeah, Titan, so good. That's what I've been drinking tonight, besides coffee.
Nothing further to add. Just a quick comment on the water quality. I believe between the Ashokan and New York City, there is nothing added to the water,
Right.
and there are no pumping stations. It's a completely gravity-fed system all the way 100 miles, whatever it is. It's an amazing water supply system in the city, although they're having their own problems right now. But what they're getting from us is pretty good. That's it. I'll stand by and let me treat all you all. Good to hear you. Have a good evening.
Yes, very good point, David. It is all gravity fed, and it is all pretty clean rainwater, spring water from the mountains, from those reservoirs. That is pretty good water quality. It's a shame that they do all the damage to it at the end before delivery with chlorination, fluorination, high pressures and piping and that sort of thing. But I guess that's the complexities of stacking everyone on top of each other. Anyway, excellent comment, and thanks for joining the net. Greatly appreciated. I hope you have a good evening, and we'll roll on down to Jim, KD2BHM. Speaking of some spring water.
Thanks, Jay, KD2BHM. Yeah, water quality is imperative when you are homebrewing beer.
Yes.
The type of beer, the style of beer that you're trying to imitate, you need to imitate that quality of water too. The calcium levels, magnesium levels, whatever else, pH, all that has to be basically engineered into the recipe. If you're having a beer that's been made with hard water and you do it with soft water, it's not going to work.
Totally different. So true.
Anyhow, another amusing thing is thinking back over the years. When I was a kid back late 50s, early 60s, Mom made pizza at home. There was an Appian way kit, a box from the grocery store. It had a little bag of flour in it, and a little bag of yeast, and a little can of sauce, and some a packet of Parmesan or whatever, and whatever.
Thanks for the feedback, guys.
We didn't know any better back then. And then eventually, when I got to high school, a friend of mine, his mom, Mrs. Barola, they ran a pizzeria in South Troy, and I learned how to make pizza the Italian way from scratch. And I don't make pizza like Mommy used to make.
Awesome. Yeah, that water quality thing, it's amazing how much it affects food, beer, human health, animal health, plant health, and on down the list. I'll just mention a couple of things that people should check out if they're interested in learning more about water quality. One is Dr. Masaru Emoto. There's a documentary from him on The Memory of Water, I think it's called. Dr. Masaru Emoto. And then there's another guy is, let me see if I can remember the name. Dr. Jerry, I can't remember his last name at the moment, but his video is on Easy Water, and he talks about the healing properties of that. And then you can go down a whole rabbit hole into magnetic water and Victor Schauberger, and it goes on and on and on. Water is so much more complex than we give it credit for currently. Anyway, thanks for your comments, Jim, and your participation. I hope you have a great evening, and we'll roll on down to K2LD. Bob, your final comments for the net.
Well, from what I caught of it, it seems like it was a real good net tonight. Nice quantity of participants and all. I was interested in your sweet potatoes. It tweaked my interest when I saw you doing that video. Is it something I could consider up in my climate up here?
Yeah, I think you could. They like warm weather, but if you get something like a Beauregard, they're about 90 to 100 days to maturity, and you could start them like I'm doing in the greenhouse. You could start them in your little walkway or whatever it is between the house and garage, and get them going, and then you just take slip cuttings from them and plant them out. They're really easy to manage, and they're pretty easy to grow, and man, they put a tremendous amount of carbon back in the soil too. They put out a tremendous amount of leaf and vine size. So yeah, I think you totally could. Yeah, I don't know, did I answer all your questions on it, or is there more?
Well, you just made another one, Beauregard, you mentioned.
Yes.
That's, I would assume, a particular type, something that's easily obtainable. I have to get seed potatoes, or couldn't I just start them from what I find in a organic grocery store?
Yeah, you could start from what you find in an organic grocery store. Same kind of thing. They're a lot like starting an avocado. You can put them in moist soil or water. I prefer soil just because I find that's easier to manage, but you could just stick them in a jar like you would an avocado to start it. And when those vines start to grow on, you take cuttings of them, you put them in water or in soil that you keep moist, and they'll root out. When they root out, you transplant them. So they're really easy to propagate, pretty easy to store, and a lot of fun to grow. I think you asked something else in there, but my mind is scattered tonight.
No, that was pretty much it. It's just curious about them. I never even considered growing sweet potatoes up here, but I think I might try it.
I highly recommend it, and part of the reason I switched to sweet potatoes was on the suggestion of advancing eco-agriculture after I had such trouble with potato bugs on regular potatoes. It was another starchy root I could grow, and I actually like sweet potatoes even better, and they're not susceptible to the potato bug. In fact, they don't really seem to have any pests except woodchucks and rabbits like to eat the leaves, but that's minimal compared to the potato bug issue. So yeah, fantastic. Well, thanks for joining the net tonight, Bob. I appreciate it. Glad you made it in, and glad you're home safe, and hope all is well. And I guess that's the conclusion of the Sunday Night All Things Natural Net. So just a couple announcements here. This has been a session of the Sunday Night All Things Natural Net. I am KD2IIN, and the Sunday Night All Things Natural Net is sponsored by the Overlook Mountain Amateur Radio Club, located in beautiful Ulster County, New York. If you want to know more about our club, visit our website at www.omarcclub.org. That's whiskey.Oscar Mike Alpha Romeo Charlie Lima Uniform Bravo Oscar Romeo Golf. We have other nets here on this repeater. Let's see, currently, due to the coronavirus issue going on, we have nets at about 8:35 a.m. Those are run by Paul, AC2UQ. That's a fairly informal one. And then 6:30 p.m. in the evenings, we have another net that's a more formal net, and that's kind of dedicated to helping people connect to resources if they need help with something, and also to check in and just see what's going on in the general Hudson Valley area, town to town, on what's available resource-wise and that sort of thing. All right, so one more announcement here. Also, Thursday nights at 8 p.m. is the Thursday night, just Thursday night net, I guess it's called now, and that is usually more technically oriented or radio-oriented topics. Let's see, last week we were talking about fox hunting. That was a pretty interesting discussion, and that's run by Dave, K2JLV. So the net information is also available on our website under Repeaters Nets, and you can find out more that way as well. So thanks to everyone who participated. This is KD2AAN, and I will be returning this frequency to the amateur radio community for regular use. Woo, mouthful. Anyway, this is KD2AAN saying 7 3s, and inviting you to join us again next week. Thanks everybody. Great net. KD2AAN, you'll be clear. Whew. Man, that's a mouthful. Yeah, lemon meringue from your own lemons. Killer. Killer. Killer.
Thanks, EJ. Great net. K2BHN clear.
KC2JQA clear. Thank you for the net. Very enjoyable.
Great job.
Thanks everyone, that was wonderful. KD2RYD clear, 7-3.
Woot woot. Alrighty, that went pretty good. And let's see, I know the Paranormal Portal is starting their stream up soon, so I imagine these people are going to jump out here quick. But I'm going to try and catch back up on the text chat a little bit since I missed that. These nets used to only run about half an hour, and now we're getting so many participants, they're running a full hour. We may have to do another stream at some other point in the week so we can catch up. Lemon meringue pie, spring water. Yeah. Well, anyway, thank you everyone for coming in and supporting the stream and your excellent chat. And oh hey, there's Chris. Something. Type something. Something. That's good, Chris. I like it. Let's see. Lemon curd sounds like it involves milk. You can fake buttermilk with milk and a bit of vinegar. Oh yeah, I've heard that. Maybe lemon juice would work well. I've heard that lemon juice does work well, Geeky. Thanks, Geeky. Thanks. And hey, yeah, thanks for coming in, guys. Bomber and Titan and Geeky Gardens and Homesteading the Hard Way and Brutus Strudel and Nessie Monster, and I hope I didn't miss anyone. Anyway, thank you everyone for coming in. Yeah, it was a good net, an excellent stream, and we'll look forward to next week. Good night, everyone. Thanks for watching the Pharmacy Seeds Network.